My friends, the weekend is over and Ukraine has been incredibly busy. I feel like immediately that I don't do a video, for example, on Sunday, a day for myself, you know, Ukraine liberates Urozhaine, they attack the Turkish bridge, they capture a Russian Major Tomov from the newly established bridgehead in Kazachki over the Dnipro River, and that's only some of their achievements. I feel like Zelensky is like, oh, when is Artur taking a one-day vacation? Oh, Sunday, attack! Because it was so hard not to make a video yesterday, looking at what was happening. Oof. But I'm making it today. Let's go. Ukrainian Deputy Minister of Defense Hanna Malia reported that Ukrainians did not only liberate Urozhaine, the settlement right here, but also they had success from southeast of Staromayorsk, this settlement here, southeast, and we see this area, you know, the gray zone right here. Russians have been pushed back, and Russian military bloggers actually are stating that, yeah, Russians had to retreat from Urozhaine, and there's a video about it, of an entire Russian company running from this road, you see this road right here, running away in a single or two line, and then suddenly cluster munitions hit them dead on. It's a horrible video, I cannot show it, but there's a video about it. Well, Russian military bloggers right now are stating that Russians might have to pull out of Zavitne Bazhanye also, the next settlement to the south of Urozhaine, and the next target of liberation for Ukrainian forces, of course, because they're pushing south to cut to the Azov Sea and Mariupol. The thing is, setting up any proper defense takes time and takes settling in and organizing your positions and troops and logistic lines, but if you're retreating, like we saw the Russians retreat from this road, this was very chaotic and it was definitely not planned, and it was overall a humiliation for the Russian units because it was a very big unit, company-sized, perhaps plus, retreating all at once, leaving their armor and just running away. And retreating like that, you are not able to establish a permanent defense on the next settlement. You might even have to pull back further, because it takes time to establish a defense. And this is what the Russian military bloggers are afraid of right now. After a retreat like that, it might happen again. For example, I'll zoom into the settlement Makarivka, which was liberated a few months ago, right here a little bit to the north. This footage comes from Russians retreating from Makarivka. Now, this is an old news, of course, but the footage was just released, and you see this road right here. They retreated out of this settlement exactly the same way. And we can see it from the footage, only at that time Ukrainians did not have cluster munitions to hit them with. Well, the situation was different 2 settlements ahead, and now Russians got hit with the cluster munitions on this road. But now, my friends, let's go to the Kherson front and to the newest Ukrainian established bridgehead, Kazachki, which in English means Cossack camps, because this settlement, Russian-occupied settlement, is called Cossack camps. That's how it got its name. Russian sources right here report that Ukrainian boats are running day and night over the Dnipro River. By boats, I actually do mean rubber boats, speed boats, because that's all the capacity available right here. The ground is soft and filled with waterways and sub-rivers. The ground is very swampy, so no heavy equipment can be transported, but Ukraine is transporting everything, logistics, medicine, food, ammunition, everything with speed boats. That's why Russians are seeing them day and night. And also, Ukrainian forces have been bringing in new troops every day, 5 at a time, 1 speedboat at a time. So right now the reports are that Ukraine has about company plus sized force on this Kazachki bridgehead, and they're bringing in extra. Unfortunately, no armor, no push. Without armor, it's incredibly difficult to develop this bridgehead into anything much bigger. But you can do a lot with only infantry. And by a lot, I mean capturing an entire Russian reconnaissance group of 15 men and a Major Tomov, actually. About a week ago, 25 Russian soldiers went missing with their leader in this area. There were 3 officers in that group, and one of them actually was Major Tomov. Nobody knew what happened to them until very recently. We got a video, this video actually, of Ukrainians interrogating Russian Major Tomov. Major Tomov was quite talkative, and he stated that the situation in his unit was extremely difficult. Morale was extremely low, desertions were very rampant, and combat losses were close to 25%. We're talking KIAs. In any military unit, combat losses over 33% render that unit effectively out of battle, because let's say you have 33% wounded. They all need people to take care of them. One wounded needs 2 guys to carry them, or a medic to take care of him. 33% wounded renders the rest of the company pretty useless, unless they're fanatics and fight to the death, which Russians are not. So 25% KIA or wounded in action renders his unit almost useless. So you can understand why his morale was also very low when he surrendered. How do I know his morale was low? Because in the next video, this one right here, we can see him cooperating with the Ukrainians, giving away his forward command point, the Russian unit's logistics in the area, and the unit's positions and minefields. All on the map. I mean, this is a major, it's a high-ranking officer giving this information to the Ukrainians. This is why perhaps we also see Ukrainians running these speedboats day and night, bringing in new troops, because they have good information about the Russian positions, good information about the Russian low morale, so they decided, okay, we're gonna push this with infantry, because this is the weakest spot. And it truly is. Russians laid hundreds of thousands of mines in the southern front. They did not do that with the Kherson front because they thought blowing up the dam and the Dnipro River is a defensive structure enough for them. Well, now the water has ceded, it has run away. Ukrainians are crossing the river and the Russian defenses are the weakest. Compared to everything else the Russians have in southern and eastern front, the Kherson front is their weakest link. Some Ukrainians and Western analysts even say that one of Ukrainian only possibilities is to cross the Dnipro with a meaningful force and push behind the Russian defensive lines in the southern front. This is how they would reach the Azov Sea. Time will tell if Ukrainians will do this. Major Tomov's phone was searched and this photo was found on his phone and posted online. I mean, it's I cannot really. It's Russian shenanigans in the army. It looks pretty much what the Russians are doing also in their conscript times, having fun, drinking, waving around with guns. At least good to see that they have trigger discipline, because I don't see any fingers on the trigger, especially when you're pointing the gun at your major. I don't know what else to add here. This is pure shenanigans. Also, Russian military bloggers are extremely angry at Major Tomov. They are calling him a traitor and stating that he should have committed suicide with a grenade before giving himself as a POW. Knowing how low the morale of these troops is and knowing that Russian designed forces were taken away from the Kherson front and pushed to the southern front, and Kherson front was left mobilized, and conscripts actually. And Major Tomov was supposed to lead those low morale mobilized and conscripts to what? To victory? I mean, these are Ukrainian special forces crossing the Dnipro River against low morale mobilized and conscripts. There's nothing more for him to do. If he wants to live, he gotta give himself up, and that's what he did. My friends, I just uploaded a video about my last trip to Ukraine where I delivered these night and thermal visions that you donated for. Personally gave them to 5 different units. Thank you for donations, and if you haven't seen the video, it is in the description below. A lot of you comment that I shouldn't have filmed these Patriot systems that can be seen in the video. Many people are like, oh, this is not OPSEC, what are you doing? My friend, if I put that up, it's obviously not in Ukraine. It is filmed in one of the EU countries. It's in a very public location and everybody can see them. These Patriot systems are meant to be seen. They're in the EU country. They're meant to send a signal that we have these Patriots here. Of course, my mistake is to let the expression of they might have been in Ukraine. No, they were in Poland. So it's not OPSEC and they're in a very public location. And if you are watching this video, it is a fundraiser. We're giving 3 trucks to the Ukrainian Special Forces. These Special Forces units include a unit from the GUR and the 3rd Assault Brigade actually. So if you have it in you, go and donate. And of course, Sunday and Saturday, so yesterday and the day before yesterday, Zelensky was like, oh, Artur is not making videos, strike the Kerch Bridge, and this is what the Ukrainians did. Throughout 2 days, Kerch Bridge was struck multiple times. I was looking at this on Twitter and I was like, I have my resting day today, I should not make a video. It was so difficult not to make a video. The footage was beautiful and Ukrainians took control. Now the bridge is not destroyed. It is damaged heavily, but the traffic somehow is already resuming on the bridge, so this means more strikes are needed. I gotta say, getting so many hits and still standing, I mean, I would have expected after the very first attack that this bridge would be a much easier target to destroy. But I have no doubts that Ukraine will destroy this bridge, showing that they have attacked this bridge now altogether 4 times. They will attack it again. Taking out the Kerch Bridge for Ukrainians is part of their strategy to isolate Crimea. Why isolate? Because if you take away this logistics link right here, all of the shipping would have to pass with ships, which is a lot slower, and you cannot use rail or truck shipping throughout the occupied southern Ukraine because this is very vulnerable for Ukrainian drone attacks, and it's a very long route clogging the roads. So taking out this bridge already isolates Crimea, severing the logistics and playing into Ukrainian end goal of liberating Crimea. And now, my friends, the Russian losses of the past 24 hours. We have 530 liquidated Russian personnel, which is the 7-day average, and incredibly high, unsustainable losses. With this tempo, Russia will, mark my words, they will announce a new mobilization or severely pump up their hidden mobilization efforts, or they will have to lessen their KIAs every day. Then they lost 8 tanks. Russia conducted several counteroffensives in the past 24 hours and throughout the weekend, so we see additional losses of tanks. They lost 19 armored personnel vehicles. Most of their attacks are done with armored personnel vehicles and infantry fighting vehicles, and this shows they have been incredibly active on the fronts. 27 artillery systems, 2 anti-aircraft warfare systems, 9 UAVs, 90 vehicles and fuel tanks, and 6 special equipment. So about the 7-day average losses, except for tanks and infantry fighting vehicles, which are above 7-day average. Russians stopped a civilian merchant ship. It was a Turkish bulk carrying ship called Sukru Okan in the southwestern area of the Black Sea, somewhere around this area. The Russians, first of all, contacted the ship via radio, asking to board the ship. The ship ignored it. Then the Russians fired warning shots. Ship again ignored it and changed the course to reach the Turkish territorial waters because it was a Turkish ship and they are Russians, you know. I guess the ship crew was like, okay, hell no, not today, not us, let's get back home. And then the Russians sent out a helicopter to inspect the ship. You can see it right on this footage. The Russians sent a helicopter with gunmen to line up all of the crew on the deck facing away from the troops, as you can see. On this footage we can actually see the troops already leaving the ship after inspecting it. The funny part is that they all get on the chopper. Get to the chopper! And the chopper leaves, but 2 troops are left behind. So about 20 seconds later the chopper comes back. It's like, okay, yeah, we'll get you too. I thought you wanted to stay, but no. They get the last troops also and leave. The thing is, this is against international regulations and shipping rules. This is in breach and in clear violation of these rules. It's a civilian merchant ship belonging to Turkey. Russia provoking Turkey like that, definitely not good for Russian-Turkish relations. And bear in mind, in the context, Ukraine gave Russia a 2 weeks grace period 2 weeks ago. In 2 days, this grace period will end. What will end? Well, the fact that Ukraine promised not to attack all of the ships in Ukrainian territorial waters and in occupied Ukrainian territorial waters. It ends in Wednesday. So in Wednesday, expect to see more careless smoking on the Russian ships. And there's a lot of Russian ships in this area, in the Russian-occupied Crimean territorial waters. I mean, Russia relies heavily in the Azov Sea and northern Black Sea. A lot of Russian shipping is going on. And Ukraine has demonstrated they have the ability to blockade all of this. And they have given 2 weeks grace period, which is about to end. So I guess in Thursday, I'll have a lot to report on. United Kingdom's intelligence report states that the Wagner troops, about 4,000 of them, which are stationed in Belarus in the camps, they're not being paid properly. Lukashenko doesn't want to pay them. He doesn't even want to build the camps for them. There's been issues about that. Putin deliberately is not allocating funds to Wagner to pay them. This is his goal, to not pay them so their morale gets incredibly low. I mean, they're mercenaries. Money equals loyalty. If Prigozhin or Lukashenko cannot pay them, they will look for another master. And this master is Putin. Russian Ministry of Defense is always making contracts for them which have better pay. This is why they're not paying them right now. They want them out of Wagner into the Russian Ministry of Defense system. Putin's goal is to allocate all of these Wagner troops into the Russian units, dissipating them into different units, minimalizing the risk of mutiny and maximalizing their experience, because they're extremely experienced men. So, unfortunately, it's a good plan. The footage you have been seeing throughout this bit here is not actually Wagner troops and Wagner armor. It's Poland, Warsaw, the capital, yesterday. I mean, this is insane. It sends a very clear message. Poland is ready. And to illustrate how ready they are, they only did not buy the South Korean tanks, the K2, which is an incredibly capable tank. They also bought Abrams, both of the tanks. I mean, what's next? Poland is gonna buy Leopard tanks also, all of the Western tanks. They have 2 different main battle tank systems coming to their country in the future, and they have deals that they will be producing the parts for these tanks in Poland. That's the main Polish condition of all of the weapons purchases, that their factories will be built mostly in Poland. Genius in my eyes. Secondly, they're buying close to 100 Apache helicopters from United States. And recently, Polish Minister of Defense stated that they are deploying an extra additional 10,000 troops to the Polish-Belarusian border in response to the Wagner threat, and also for the security of the Suwalki Gap. You see, this is Belarus, this is Poland, and this is Lithuania, and this is a little-known Russian Kaliningrad, which I don't like it at all. Well, this small gap between Poland and Lithuania is the Suwalki Gap. It's about 80 kilometers wide, and it's the most narrow point between the Baltics and Finland and the rest of NATO with a land corridor. This is why Poland and Lithuania are working extremely hard to keep the security of this gap at a maximum level. And Poland recently announced that they will be deploying these very same Apaches I mentioned closer to the Suwalki Gap for the security of it. This is the most vital point of northern NATO country securities, the Suwalki Gap. And now, my friends, your favorite part of the video, butchering of the Patreon names. I have done this for 4 years in a row now in every video, so you know it's coming in every video. If you become a patron tier 10 and above, you'll be hearing your name butchered in a way you've never imagined. Let's go. Jill Tkunder, Adent Kornok, Kilgore Trout, Olena Tulenko. Thank you, Olena, because your Patreon number was a bit higher. Most of the patrons are tier 10, because that's the threshold for me to butcher the names, and if somebody is a little bit more, then thank you very much. Mikke Dobles. Thank you to these 5 Patreons. My friends, I also urge you to check out my Instagram account, because there, 3 times a day, it's very easy to keep an eye on the most important events of the Russo-Ukrainian war. Also check out my Instagram, because recently I released a video on my YouTube channel when I went to Ukraine and delivered the night vision devices. Well, I'm going back to Ukraine in September for the newest fundraiser, Trucks for Ukrainian Special Forces. Everything will be up on my Instagram. I'll see you there. And until my next video, my friends, Slava Ukraini.